Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Cool. I think one of my biggest nightmares is talking in front of people for like 10 seconds in silence. Cool. Well, hello everyone. My name is Omar. A little bit of a fun fact about myself. I'm a massive hater. I hate a lot of things. And I hate things that are popular as well. And that especially extends to the tech world. Whenever I see there's some new sort of technology, my instinct isn't amazement. It's actually, oh God, right? I remember with NFTs, everyone was talking about NFTs, I hated it. Cryptocurrency, big hater. And now we're in the AI age. I'm still a bit of a hater, but I think this is one's a little bit different. Whenever we talk about AI nowadays, in the current sense of the word, we always think about it as this new thing to write music and tools with, but at the end of the day, it is a tool. And I think we need to take it back to that understanding. So just a quick other bit of intro about myself. Again, as mentioned, I've worked across a lot of different clients, across various sectors, pretty much very involved within the paid search field. This deck is going to be very much focused around paid search, but the lessons that we apply can pretty much be applied across all different platforms. I do a lot of my work with Assembly Global, who used to be known as Forward 3D, one of the largest paid search industries back in the day. Now they've diversified and taken a lot of their proprietary tech to a wider audience and platforms. And they've been bought out by Stagwell. So we are actually the media arm of a much wider range of MarTech. So there is one thing I want everybody to go out with. This is the point I'm going to try and prove to you all for the rest of this talk. And if I manage to do this, then I think I'm succeeded. And my thesis is very simple. Not only does human input multiply AI efficiency, it's mandatory. Without it, it just fails. And I think this is a very key point. AI at this point in time is being treated as something that's going to replace all of our jobs. I don't necessarily see it that way, at least not for now. So I think it's important to understand then why is there such hype around AI, especially with all these platforms pushing all of these AI tools on us. And I think the key thing is it just helps them grow. But there's three elements to this that we think we really need to understand and take advantage of. And I think the first thing is performance. At the end of the day, AI is just going to outperform people on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot less resource required, and it's able to process signals a lot faster. The third thing is accessibility. We tend to we take digital marketing for granted a lot of the time, but if you look at the advertising industry 20, 30 years ago, it was very, very, very inaccessible for most advertisers. You needed to buy through TV or through newspaper, and that can be very, very expensive. One of the key things about digital advertising and what's really revolutionized it, and the core advantage of it, is making it accessible for your everyday mom and pop store. AI actually simplifies that and streamlines it a lot more. And I think we need to keep that in mind as we go through the next couple of slides. The third thing is we are in an AI bubble, to be frank. NVIDIA is now the largest company in the world. They lost 50 billion in market share the other day and nobody cared because they're that big, just because they're supplying all of these companies with the AI infrastructure they need. We are in a bubble. So obviously there's going to be some overinvestment. So before we go even further, I think it's important to remember that AI can be categorized into one out of two categories. And in my mind, I like to picture them as either the nerd or the artist, right? The nerd being what we call reinforced learning. And it's a very simple idea. You take something, you give it a lot of inputs, and you just tell it what output you want to achieve. And from that point onwards, you create an algorithm that continuously learns off of itself. It creates this really, really interesting infinite feedback loop. and it's able to take advantage of trends before we identify them. It's able to identify what we should be doing before we do that. There's also the generative AI, which is, again, the artist side of things. It's about creating content. It could be about providing inspiration for content, or even editing existing content for reuse. So let's talk a little bit about reinforced learning. Just a quick point, by the way, all of these transition slides are made from Canva with their AI prompts. I think it's important that whenever you utilize generative AI, you call it out. So reinforced learning in a paid search setting or in an optimization setting is very simple. It's about automating micro optimization. It's about getting rid of the boring stuff. So we still, as paid search practitioners, need to understand what's going on. But in reality, we don't need 30, 40, 50 people to do the job that one machine can do. We can just organize it a little bit differently. So if you look at paid search like 10, 12 years ago, before there was any sort of automated learning, I remember there used to be like topics about like if you were in the middle of like a football game and you want a betting client, you'd have to manually increase bids within the advertisement breaks. That's nothing we even think about nowadays. We don't think about things in that way. All of these micro signals are taken in by Google and they're optimized towards automatically. That is AI's job. So our role fundamentally changed. We go from being the guy in the car to the mechanics of the car. We go from being the driver to the GPS. So our role as paid search practitioners or general platform marketers, performance marketers in general, has fundamentally shifted. We are no longer in charge of the platforms. And I think that's something we need to embrace because they can do a much better job than we can. So what should we do? How does our role evolve? I think this is a very interesting video I watched back in the day by someone called Peter Wellen, who actually created a reinforced learning model to teach AI how to play Pokemon Red. It's a very interesting video, and what it essentially does is he created what they call a rewards table. So for each action that's taken within the game, he gives the AI a reward. And then he scales up the rewards, and then he just unleashes it, let it run through the game 20 times, takes those learnings, puts them back into the algorithm, and does that again continuously. That is essentially reinforced learning. And it's a very interesting video that I watched because it actually does affect paid search marketing and performance marketing in general. It's a very interesting way of thinking about things, which is breaking it down to rewards and outcome. And what's really interesting is as the algorithm evolved more and more and more, he actually updated the rewards to incentivize certain behaviors and de-incentivize others. So I learned a few things from this video. First thing is proportionate rewards are incredibly important for reinforced learning across any algorithm, be that paid search, be that paid social, be that anything. The third thing is you need to create that positive feedback loop. So you need to have as much data as possible so that it gets fed back into the algorithm so the algorithm has an understanding of what it wants to achieve. The third thing is I really wanted to cheat. Like I was watching this video and just watching it doing stupid things, and I was like, what if I played the game for 20 minutes and just put it back into the platform? And in reality, that's actually our job in paid search as paid search practitioners. We have the ability to cheat, tell the platform what we need it to do, play manually, and then pass it over to AI when it's ready to take over. So I've broken it down a little more to basically identify how AI plays into the paid search process. And it's very simple from a reinforcement learning perspective, is that we have multiple inputs that we don't even consider. The first thing is creatives. What ad copy are we using? Are we using various different types of ad copy? Google will automatically optimize towards that. We need to look at things like conversion goals, audience signals to lay on top of it, and understanding what conversion value we're feeding into the platform, and off the back of that, what conversion history, what data do we have as well? All of these are inputs that get fed into an AI-powered bid strategy. From there, this is where we change the incentivized rewards. So the first thing is we need to understand what is value to our clients. We can make changes towards our inputs to identify what is actually more important to us or not. For example, if we're trying to incentivize new customers, we can actually put a multiplier on that from a revenue perspective. If we're trying to de-incentivize that, we can actually say, if we have a conversion from an existing customer, let's take off 25%. That gets fed back into the algorithm. And of course, appropriately structuring our campaigns for AI as well. What that means is that the smaller our campaign structure is, the better it performs, because Google's able to make that split-second decision in the auction a lot quicker. That gets then fed into the outcome. Then we experiment off the back of that. Through those experimentations, we're able to identify what is working, what isn't. That gets fed all the way back into the conversion history. So we're in charge of our outputs, so our inputs, and we're in charge of the AI modification tools that we have. To visualize it a little bit more, we've broken down the auction into a little cycle. So the first thing is what we call this automated search optimization cycle. The user interacts with an ad, it gathers data, then the data is stored within the platform. That gets fed into the bid strategy, and that helps identify when it should bid. So what can we actually do on top of this? Well, we can add things like consent mode and enhanced conversions, and a few other tools to feed more data into the platform to create better decision making. Off the back of that, utilizing GA4, we can utilize better audiences, feed that back into the platform, in essence, multiply our inputs even further. This is a super important point. What we actually record in platform is just a fraction of the data we have available to us. So we have platform conversions and we have enhanced conversions, which are conversions that we just don't have visibility on. Google modeling will actually predict how much sales we actually made. Consent mode as well off the back of that. And offline conversions. So these are conversions that we can pull in from other sources back into the platform. It is important to identify these because all of these are different signals that we can utilize to enhance our reinforced learning. So what are the 3 stages of AI and maturity within paid search? The first one is if you're AI nascent, you have no data, well, your job's to gather data. It's very simple and it's very clear what we should be doing. The first thing is you take the wheel, you do not rely on AI at all. And what that means is you build out your campaigns the same way you traditionally have, break them out a lot more, assign budgets very specifically, and in essence, focus on driving as many conversions as possible. From that stage onwards, you can migrate to a target bid strategy using something like target ROAS or maximize conversions, etc. From there, you can experiment with things like broad match. If you use broad match and you're not on a smart bid strategy, by the way, that's a death sentence to your budget. Never do that. And you can structure your campaigns a little bit more. What that means is slimming them out. You're not necessarily splitting them out by match type, slimming them out as much as you can. One bid strategy per campaign. That's the way I like to think about it. When we go into being a super user, it's about maximizing your AI inputs. And that is, again, the incentivize rewards section. Think about it from a perspective of, well, what other things can we feed in? What priorities or what behaviors should we incentivize or what shouldn't we incentivize? This could be things like identifying what people are doing on the website, if they're an existing customer or not. What people are doing after they leave your website. For example, are they buying it from other stores? And then determining the value that that has on the business from a paid search perspective. Generative AI is also very interesting because this is, I think, where most of the hype around AI has come from. And it's something that we take for granted a lot. And this is where I am a bit more of a hater. I think Gen AI is one of those things that people are saying is going to revolutionize the world. I think it's a bit crap, to be honest, at this point in time. But it is improving at a massive rate. So this has been sort of the theme that we have. We hype it up, we get invested, we don't give any context to the plan, it performs horribly, and we're like, well, what happened? This is supposed to revolutionize the world. AI, context is king in general when it comes to AI. So if we are using something like ChatGPT, or we are using something to create an image asset, we need to give it as many rules as possible. And we need to, instead of giving it freedom, we need to give it structure. We need to give it guidance. So are we describing the number of the character limits per, for what we're trying to achieve? Can we give it previous examples of things that have actually historically worked in the past? Are we telling it specifically what we want it to ask for? I think this is a really important point. One of my clients right now is a high luxury beauty client. And AI was just like, hey, go free samples. I'm like, we don't do that. We don't even say free gift, we say complimentary. It's that sort of thing. We need to provide it with that level of context. Landing pages, USPs, and even tone of voice. These are the things that nobody has the context of that we need to provide. And finally, giving feedback on results. And I think this is super important. If something's not working, we tell it, this is a bit crap, redo it, take into considerations 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is something I actually found super interesting within Google. If you're using Performance Max, you may have seen, actually a show of hands, because I think this is still in beta. Has anybody seen within the Performance Max campaigns the ability to create assets? So a fair few of you, how many people have actually used it? Even fewer. Excellent. I don't think it's very good. I think it's not that great at all. And these two examples that I've pulled out, I was very specific with them because these are what Google are using to advertise these products, right? And I think it's very, very evident for the asset creation that they're showing dogs and using that as an example. And why is that being shown? It's because AI cannot generate, Google are not allowed to generate faces using AI. And if Google's doing it, chances are Meta's going to adopt the same philosophy when this feature hits their platforms. Faces are very important for a lot of clients. And if you're unable to put in any facial visuals, then it's going to flop. And it's not also going to be able to create the brand's like actual products. So from a creation perspective, it's there if it's literally better than nothing, or if you're trying to explain a vague concept or a service. But that being said, the editing function, I absolutely love. And as you can see, they actually put a face on this one. And that's because this is something that we mentioned a little bit earlier, which is about providing more accessibility to the platforms. Google is very keen on getting people to utilize Performance Max, but Performance Max needs 20 creatives. If you only have 2 or 3, it's not going to do a good job. There's not going to be enough there to optimize. So this tool, the asset editing tool, is super useful and valuable from that sense because it allows you to turn one asset into 2 and 3 and 4. And it lets you, again, test and learn without actually having to reinvest more time and effort into creating new assets from scratch. Ultimately, these are the key points I want to leave you with. You have to maximize your inputs for reinforced learning, as well as Gen AI, but reinforced learning is evident. You need to understand the rewards and the signals you are telling Google. We actually had a client in the past that was selling, again, luxury goods, but they had a $5 value for anyone who's subscribed to their YouTube channel. So if you go on the website and subscribe to their YouTube channel, that's a £5 sale. And that what that ended up being is when you split out the conversion value, 95% of that was people subscribing to the YouTube channel, which is obviously what they want. You need to understand the rewards and the signals you were telling Google and optimizing towards that. Third of all is structure for AI. Slim down campaigns. Don't be afraid to relinquish control. Keep in mind that, again, everything is done through an auction. So the slimmer your campaigns are, the easier Google is able to identify the best keyword for the right auction. And finally, context is key. Please provide context to any sort of AI algorithm that you were doing, be that through audience signals, be that through conversion value targets, be that through just straight up typing it in and what you need it to do. And that's it from me. If you need a deck, feel free to add me on LinkedIn and I'll send it to you. Thank you very much.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.